Well, we're excited about the season. We feel like we go into the season with a full roster this year. Hopefully we can keep that so, keep 12 healthy bodies on the floor. I think this is the first season in about 3 years that we've had a senior on the team, so we expect our senior leadership to provide us a spark and lead this young team in a direction and where we're competing each and every night.
Coach, when you look around the league this year, do you feel like there's a lot of teams that could potentially make a run and potentially come out of it?
I do. I think it's pretty obvious why Cal State Bakersfield was picked preseason number one. I have great coaching staff, and Tiana Outlaw is outstanding, and then they return a lot of their offensive punch from last year. But, Joan Bombasini always does a nice job with her Seattle team. And Texas Pan American, they return a lot of offensive punch as well. And, although a lot of teams lost some key players last year, I think they'll figure themselves out very quickly in the non-season and be very competitive. The coaches in this league is just too good for that not to happen.
There's not a lot of NCAA tournament history in the league right now. Is that kind of an intriguing opportunity for a coach at a smaller school?
Absolutely. Just to have an opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament, that's every kid's, every player, every athlete, every coach's dream. And I think because there's not a history within the league of going to the NCAA tournament, I can go out on a limb and say that's everyone's goal in this league. There's going to be a lot of parity in the league. So on any given night, you go out and compete, see how the ball bounces, and see if you have put yourself in that opportunity to be successful and come out with a win. So at the end of the season, you do have an opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament.
When you look at the league as a whole, how do you feel it stacks up nationally against some of the other conferences?
We have a very good league. We have very good coaches. I don't know, I think it's kind of hard to say where we rank or how we rack up nationally, but when you look around our league, we had I think we had 3 teams that went to the postseason last year. Some teams that, got some wins in the postseason and played very well against opposing conferences. So I think we're right there.
You've been an assistant at a couple of Big Ten schools, if I recall correctly. How do you compare this league to that in terms of what's the biggest difference, or how does the WAC get to that kind of a level?
Well, it's a new league as far as we're concerned. So I think it's kind of hard to compare, the Big Ten that's been around for years and years and years to the WAC, who, for us, this is our second year, and I think there's a few other teams, this is our second year actually being in this league. So to compare it, I think that's not real fair. But, you just have to continue to build, just like any program. You just have to continue to build year by year, brick by brick, and we'll definitely, put ourselves in a position to get there.
Coach, you returned 4 of your 5 starters from last season. How does having that experience change your approach to the year?
Well, it's nice to have some experience. That's not something that we've had the last couple of years. And with that being said, and having a year in the WAC last year, those players now understand what we need to do to compete. Our practices have been a lot more competitive. And along with our young kids having an opportunity to get some experience last year, they too understand what it means to be a Division I athlete. So senior leadership is always important if you expect to experience some success. And our seniors have worked very hard and have been on the forefront of leading, those new kids, those young freshmen and sophomores that we have in our program.
One of those leaders for you is probably going to be Lane Murphy, led the team in minutes last year in rebounding. Who else are you going to look towards to make major contributions?
Lane has been outstanding this year. She definitely worked hard in the off season. Her game has developed. She's more versatile, and her leadership. She understands now what it takes to play on this level. But Paris Williams is a senior. You know, Paris has been our captain for the last 3 years. She is very inspired with her work ethic. She has been a leader for the last 3 years, but just this year you can tell that her attitude is differently and how she's approaching her teammates and how she's approaching practice each and every day. Paris has a huge responsibility that she takes very seriously. Tashana Brown, she was a transfer last year, but she's a senior this year, and I have seen a remarkable change in her approach to practice and being a leader with some of the young players on this team.
As kind of the most Northeast team in the conference, you get to travel quite a bit, spend a lot of time with your team. Does that kind of added travel, does that affect team chemistry at all?
Hopefully for the positive, because we spend a lot of time together. Our team chemistry this year is very different than it was in the past. I definitely see a more connected team. I'm not sure if travel has anything to do with it, or if it's more of experience. Like I said, this is the first year in a couple years that we've had seniors, that we've had juniors on our team. So I think it's more of the experience factor more so than the travel factor, because they spend a lot of time with each other every day on our campus.
Any other questions?
Coach, last season, your team didn't come away with any conference victories. What are some of the expectations that you have from your team this year, and how hungry do you think your players are, especially the older players, now that you have some experience? How hungry are they to really prove that they can compete in this conference?
I think hungry would be an understatement. It wasn't fun for anybody last season with not coming away with any victories in the WAC conference. They remember it. They've learned from it. And the work ethic and attitude has been very different than what I've seen from them last year. As I spoke, Paris Williams has been our captain for the last 3 years. I mean, who has captains as a sophomore? And that's how young we have been. But she's been our captain for the last 3 years, and just her preparation over the summer and her attitude as far as bringing those young players along is like nothing I've seen from her before. So hungry would be an understatement.
This is your second year in the WAC. Since joining the WAC, how do you think recruiting has changed for your team?
Well, a lot more doors have opened up for us, so that's definitely a good thing. It was very difficult when, being in a situation where we didn't have an automatic qualifying bid. People are willing to listen a little bit more when you have an opportunity to play in an NCAA tournament. We're in Chicago, a great city with endless possibilities. We now have an opportunity to play for the NCAA tournament. We have a great facility. So we've definitely put ourselves in a position where we're more attractive. So recruiting has been better.